thousands of years ago, people learned that if they submerge vegetables and fruits in salt and brine, it transforms into something new. The food not only tasted different, but people also felt healthier when they consumed this kind of food. This was ancient form of creativity. Fermented foods, vegetables, and beverages have evolved so early that it is thought that they help humans transform from hunter-gatherer community into stable farming community. Fast forward to today, we are using genome sequencers to sequence DNA in those kind of foods. We use high-end chromatographic techniques to enlist the nutrients and other components, bioactive chemicals present in those foods. We even convened panel of experts to define what fermented foods even mean in scientific terms. Foods made through desirable microbial growth and enzymatic transformation of food components. Same microbes, same species of humans, but two very different kinds of creativity. My talk is really about this, how ancient entity of human creativity is now been dissected, expanded by modern scientific tools, creating a second wave of creativity around the same old jars. Across cultures, long before formal science, people learned that if they leave grains, vegetables, fruits, or even milk under right condition, they transform into something new. They got yogurt, pickles, kimchi, sauerkraut, bread, and so on. Without using any microscope, without having access to any equipment, they learned only by experience that if you have salt and brine at right concentration, it keeps unwanted microbes away and invites only specific bacteria and other microbes which are involved in food fermentation. They also learn by experience that time and temperature of the fermentation are two key determinants of the flavor and texture of the final product. Today in this modern world, when we are analyzing these foods using modern techniques, what we are learning, first of all, from a microbiologist point of view, is that these foods are enriched with diverse set of bacteria. You have something called lactic acid bacteria. There are acetic acid bacteria. You have fungi, molds of various kinds. Of all this set of diverse microbes, lactic acid bacteria forms the group of special interest. This is because they are key drivers of fermentation. They are also found relatively at higher levels than other kind of microbes in the conventional fermented foods. Some of these bacteria, specifically lactic acid bacteria, are also beneficial to our health when we consume them in the right quantity, and such microbes are also called probiotics. When we analyze these foods again from a chemical lens, what do we see? First of all, we'll see dazzling factories of microbial cells where lactic acid bacteria are master chemists. You'll also see them churning out high amounts of lactic acid, which is a powerful antimicrobial agent that keeps all other unwanted microbes away. It is this lactic acid that also gives the key tangy flavor to your yogurt as well as buttermilk. The spongy nature of idli is because of heterofermentative bacteria, particularly Weissella, which literally breathe life into the idli batter by releasing those tiny bubbles of carbon dioxide. The chemistry even gets more sophisticated now. These bacteria are also expert pharmacists. They use simple amino acid and make potent neurochemicals such as gamma aminobutyric acid, which influences your mood as well as it also reduces your anxiety. We also get something called indole-3 lactic acid that fine-tunes our nervous system as well as our immune system. Scientists have shown that these bacteria can also impart anti-aging effects onto the food. And how do they achieve so? They break down complex plant material to release free phenolics such as ferulic acid. Ferulic acid and other phenolics are antioxidant compounds that scavenge the free radicals that arise during the aging process. Not just this, these bacteria also make their own shields. They make tiny but specific protein fragments called bacteriocins. These bacteriocins act as natural antibiotic. They keep other competent microbes away and also keeps your fermented food safe. So what we are learning through modern science is that fermented food represents a very extensive biochemical transformation wherein simple ingredients from the plants are transformed into health promoting factors in the fermented foods. So basically, modern science is now catching up with our ancient wisdom. We are no more just believing that these foods could be beneficial for our health, but we are also proving that in clinics. The heavy hitter in this field has always been dairy. Because it is so popular and commercialized that there is mountains of data on the health benefits of fermented dairy products. Massive population level studies shows that consuming just 1 cup of yogurt per day, almost 100 gram, can significantly reduce the risk of type 2 diabetes and heart disease. Similar health benefits of fermented botanicals, meaning fermented vegetables and fruits, are also slowly coming up, and these studies also show promising results. We are learning that these foods can act as metabolic guardian for our health. They can help us keep our blood glucose levels normal and our cholesterol profiles under control. These foods also show promising potential to reduce the symptom of irritable bowel syndrome. In addition to this, some of these foods also have antioxidant ability that act as anti-aging factor of these foods. Taken together, all these studies are indicating that these foods don't just fill us up, they might actually be fighting actively for our longevity. Considering all these benefits of fermented foods, Indian Council of Medical Research, ICMR, in their dietary guidelines for Indians, and US FDA in their dietary guidelines for Americans, wherein the food pyramid has recently been inverted, recommend regular consumption of fermented food. So what our ancient thought that this works, fermented foods are good for our health, we are proving that, we are showing how and why they could benefit our health. Of course, the moment you say fermented foods are healthy, the marketing machines wake up. You are bombarded with several narratives such as you can fix your gut overnight, you can detoxify your body using fermented foods. Is that true? Science paints a very nuanced picture. First of all, it tells us that it is important to bridge the gap between tradition and clinical evidence. For example, although traditional Indian fermented foods such as homemade yogurt, pickles, or kanchi from North India are all rich in diverse bacteria that might offer health benefit, the studies on their actual health benefits are just emerging. The current claims which surround them are basically derived from their chemical and nutritional composition and not from the direct evidence in the clinical studies which take place in the hospitals. Second, it is very important to debunk certain myths. For example, anything that is fermented contains live bacteria. Consider the case of idli, for example. Although the batter contains highly metabolically active lactobacilli, the act of cooking or steaming the batter to get delicious idli, of course, is going to kill all the bacteria present in the batter. Are the idlis not beneficial then? That's also not the case. Idli might still have something called postbiotics, which are metabolites and cell fragments left behind that still might benefit your health in spite of being alive. They are basically generated by the bacteria which were once upon a time alive. Third and most important, safety is not automatic. Natural fermentation, if it goes in uncontrolled fashion, can lead to accumulation of harmful chemicals in the fermented food, as well as growth of bacteria that can give you disease instead of benefit. So science is doing a very important job here. It tells you that yes, there are genuine health benefiting mechanisms there, such as presence of organic acids, vitamins, antimicrobial compounds, possibly anti-aging compounds, and so on. But it also tells you that no, kimchi is not a magic pill. Eating 1 spoon of pickle every day is not going to cure any disease unless you prove this in clinic. So modern science is helping us to demystify all these assumptions. So what lies in the future? Traditional fermentation is like a lottery. Relying on wild microbes can result in inconsistent quality of the fermented food. Advancements in the genomics is allowing us to select the best strains, the stars of the shows, that can result in foods, fermented foods, with the consistent quality and guaranteed safety. We have also been able to engineer the genomes of these bacteria. These advancements in the genetic engineering allows us to improve these bacteria so that they do certain tasks at higher efficiency. This can include overproduction of vitamins, overproduction of antioxidant compounds, extending the shelf lives of the foods, and so on. Scientists are also creating something called designer foods, using a combination of specific raw materials, specific vegetables, fruits, and specific type of proven microbes to come up with certain kind of foods which are targeted towards specific disease. For example, you can imagine a future prescription of 100 gram of a designer sauerkraut, designer kimchi, or designer pickle targeted towards your high blood pressure. So in future, these foods are not going to just nourish us, but they are also going to heal us. Finally, fermentation is also becoming the ultimate recycling engine. Scientists are trying to use food waste, for example, unsold breads, to come up with nutrient-dense fermented foods that will be really good for our planet as well as our health. So where does that leave us? We have seen 2 acts of human creativity. In the first act, we invented fermentation as an art, a way to collaborate with those invisible tiny microbes. In the second act, we started dissecting the details, the scientific details of the first part of creativity. Using modern scientific tools, we started understanding the microbial diversity in the fermented foods. We started making the chemical maps of fermented foods. We also are arguing with each other to define what should be fermented foods. These 2 are independent acts of creativity. The first one is tacit and embodied. The second act is more explicit, analytical. The opportunity in front of us now is not to choose between them, but to connect them. So next time when you open something fermented, see it as more than food. It's a living archive of what our ancestors have created, and only a preview of what modern science had just begun to understand. Thank you so much.